I do think if we have the capacity and the willingness, that for us to explore ever deeper levels of kindness and softening into life, then we're called to that exploration. I think that's a great service to both the self, to the healing of the wounds of the family over generations, and actually to healing the field of the collective itself. But that requires some great willingness to tenderize, a great willingness to soften all these hard edges, to soften the rigid sense of self we carry, convinced as we are of the world, convinced of the harshness and hardness of the world. And I'm certainly not an advocate of being ridiculous and, becoming completely, as it were, I don't know what, unguarded is not the right word, but, blind to the world or to danger even. But in a way, the softening that I'm talking about is a softening into a deeper presence. It's not a softening of the self. Yeah, it's not me who's softening and becoming like, I don't know, malleable and almost weak and like, whatever. Kind of falling into that place of acquiescence. It's a softening, a falling right out of the self itself into the arms of grace, into the arms of God, into the arms of the unknown. This tends to start relaxing the tight grip we have on perception. In many ways, perception is the key. Perception is governed by many factors. Perception is governed by a tightness we may carry, inherent in the beliefs we carry. And this softening is a softening of the gaze, a softening of the rigid gaze of self. We focus. The rigid self, the tight self, the knot of self has very little true softness in it. It sees the world, as it were, from a box, a tight box of self. And so when we talk of softening and surrender and tenderness, the self in the box says, no way. No way. That's just A, impossible, and B, dangerous, and C, why would we do that anyway? So, in so many ways, the softening doesn't happen in the box. It's like drawing back out. And seeing the box of us, the box of our lives, the box of self, from a much deeper place. That's what I mean, the willingness to go deeper. It's in the willingness to go deeper that we start to meet something more true about ourselves. Yes, of course we have to meet the pain of what's been rejected and held in the shadows and the wounds and grievances. Yes, 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 we do. Of course we do. But there's something in that meeting. There's an intimacy in that meeting. And there's something beyond that. There's something beyond that pain. There's something beyond and in that very pain. And that is this softening that we find so very, very difficult. But the softening through the meeting of the pain that we carry and the softening of the perception that arises often from the pain of what we carry, the softening itself opens the doors of grace, God, unconditionality, love, surrender, acceptance. This just becomes such a beautiful way of being in the world. And, the point of this softening really from a deeper level within us is that it starts to heal something. It starts to heal the fractal line that we call the family. I've looked deeply into the family dynamic, family constellation, families over time, over what we call time. And you do get to see that there are wounds that travel generation upon generation upon generation over what we call, what we perceive as time, searching for a way of healing. And that healing is the softening. That healing is the grace. That healing is the deeper most. That healing is the tenderness that we can bring, and that has almost a quantum effect when we truly start healing ourselves, not for any benefit, but just because it's true. Then something starts to happen. The constellation of the family over time, it starts to get healed somehow. What this means, the implications of it, I don't know. But I know somewhere in the deepest part of me that this is what happens, that our healing, that our tenderness, that our softness starts to impact others around us. And by, what we perceive and what has been perceived as almost a kind of disrupted field of energy starts to be healed. That's the beauty and that's the power that our softening, that our tenderness, that our willingness to surrender the tight knot of self brings. It's beautiful.